What's going on? It's July 26, 2019. If you like this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm your friend and your host, Jonathan Frederick. This is a fantastic Friday no longer. Now they are called Advice That Changed My Life. Welcome. Let's get into the show. In this episode, I'm going to talk about not cutting people off after the first offense. As a good topic to speak on, as a lot of you listening are type A personalities, and a lot of you may actually have a lot of patience and grace outwardly, but inwardly you have no patience for people. So I'm going to speak to forgiving others after first offenses, especially your peers. Don't quote unquote be done with people due to their forgive that first offense. Don't be done with people. This is such a prevalent issue that I see in not just what happened in my life in my past, but also in the personal development space, in the I'm going to cut everyone out of my life who's not a positive influence. I mean, there's a lot to be said about be careful about who you surround yourself with. There's also a lot to be said about grace, forgiveness, and loving other people, and having boundaries and loving other people from a distance when that becomes necessary. What I've learned and what I've seen that has really changed me and changed things for me is relationships are messy. I'm hoping that ratio is a lot more less mess compared to the mess. That's how I think it should be, is very minimal mess, but then there's going to be occasional messes, and you have to gauge if you are willing or not to deal with whatever that mess may be. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. In my opinion, I don't think that it's wise to do that. I do think it's cool, though, to understand the fact that relationships, friendships are messy, at least occasionally, and understanding that, hey, it's okay to have imperfections. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. I'm not going to cut you off. This attitude of superiority, this attitude of if you make one mistake, we're done, I will never forgive you, you lost your chance, is so, it's a God syndrome. Like, we're not God. You can't tell somebody, like, you can go ahead and cut them out of your life, but what you may have done is actually harmed your life versus blessed it in the long run. Now, again, this is not speaking to if there's a abusive type of person in your life that you had to cut ties with or put boundaries up. I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to the everyday people you're trying to either build friendships with or friends you have, gauging, hey, am I going to maintain friendship with this person? And the person makes a mistake. They wrong you. They offend you. They really piss you off. They do something that was wrong and hurtful. Do you say, I'm done? Are you the kind of person who decides I'm done after that first offense? What I would encourage you with is don't be done. Maybe take a step back, take a breather, give some space. But what I would encourage you is to not just focus on self-protection, but also focus on really take a step back, take all of your ego and offense out of it. It's hard to explain. My point is, as long as it's just something that bothered you or it was hurtful or it was wrong, yeah, you got to forgive. Don't hold backpacks on people. Don't say, oh, that's going in the backpack of resentment towards XYZ person or people. It's just not helpful to you at all. I've heard an amazing thing. The theme of this episode would be forgiveness in peer-to-peer relationships and any kind of friendships, things like that. The issue is not, oh, I'm going to surround myself with these types of people only. That in and of itself is dangerous, but can be helpful in certain seasons. So I'm not going to say that I agree or disagree with that, but I will say being done with people, especially when they were your friend or you're building a friendship because of one offense or because of, it's not the move. I found it to not be the move. And the reason is, and again, that's why when I just said that a minute ago, I said without question, it was hurtful, it was wrong, it was unjust, and everyone, they know that you know that, they know that you know that we know it was wrong and it was hurtful and it was just straight up gross, and it happened anyway. So in those circumstances, it's your life, do what you want. But for me, I would encourage people listening, I would encourage you, Don't tolerate evil. Don't peacemake with evil. All right. If it was malicious, call people out on it. Don't tolerate that. Don't tolerate that. Put a name to it. Point it out in love, not out of anger or hate. Let them know. Say, hey, this happened. Just letting you know. Didn't appreciate it. You didn't have to use that tone. What you said was hurtful and it was wrong. I'm not okay with that. Those conversations are so healthy, but unfortunately are so unpopular, very rare. You're not even coming at them hostile. You're just saying, hey, just letting you know. It's a rare breed of human. I'm just letting you know it's a rare breed who can actually handle that checking of their mistake. And it's not to say it out of hatred or anger or even out of correction. It's out of love to say, hey, I want you to know this because if you keep doing this, you might be blind to it. And if we are friends, hey, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about, is not just burning bridges because you think someone or okay, then let's transition this episode. It's getting good. I'm sweating a little bit. It's an uncomfortable topic to talk about. It's not very popular, but I'm talking about it because you guys really loved that friendship episode I did a couple weeks back. That was one of my favorites as well. What I wanted to do is kind of continue along that vein. At the end of the day, too, if you're someone who is a type A personality, it's easier for us to struggle with giving people the time, with being patient, with showing grace. But trust me, we need it, if not more than anyone else. People are giving it to you present day, whether you realize it or not. And for me, people are giving it to us present day, whether we realize it or not. And to me, that's humbling for sure. So never forget that, because what's amazing for me, right? I'm 27, I turn 28 next month. Shout out to people born in August. I used to think 5 years ago, maybe even up to 4 years ago, up to that point, that, what was I talking about? So remember, people are giving us grace present day, whether you realize it or not. Someone in your life right now is showing you grace, at least in their mind, and or patience. They're being patient with you about something. I think sincerity is important. I'd rather be... here's something I shared last night in a group with some people. I said, I'd rather be myself in a situation, and not to say lack of self-control, make a mistake and then be able to go back and ask for forgiveness for that mistake versus behavior modification into something of false humility or false. I'd almost rather, it's definitely a gray area. It's funny, I was listening to a book by Robert Herjavec this past week, and he talked about, he's on Shark Tank. If that name sounds familiar, he's on Shark Tank. He's done Dancing with the Stars. In the book, he said, you can be whoever you want to be, sure. Oh, he was talking about job interviews, right? He said, you can be whoever you want to be. Go ahead. Because he was speaking to people who refuse to present a polished, product, so to speak, to a company to try to get hired. And he was saying, like, if you refuse to, someone else will get the job. You can be yourself, though. So it's just this funny, it was kind of funny. It was a little sarcastic, because he's a business owner, an entrepreneur, and he's a pretty down-to-earth guy. He's just being honest about how the world works. I always appreciate a good bit of honesty there. For anyone out there who deals with struggling to build friendships that last, this might have something to do with it. I would recommend. I mean, this is definitely. I'm speaking to myself here. In the past, this is something I still struggle with to this day. I'm very impatient at times, and I need to get better with that. I think that what I found is that by being more patient, by giving people a second chance, and not holding a backpack of resentment against anybody, you are so much freer, and you can still remember in a shrewd sense. So you're not going to try to be good friends with them, but you don't have to hold it against people. We are doing our best with what we have. That is something to remember. Forgiveness is about freedom. It's not about justice. Forgiveness is about freedom. It's not about justice. And I could do another entire episode on boundaries, because now some of you are probably going to be, I need to go reach out to this person I cut off. Because look, if you cut somebody out of your life or cut off communication, put up a boundary because of blatant abuse, abusive language, abusive treatment, I mean, hey, I'm not going to recommend you do anything. I'm just going to share with you what happens for me. That kind of stuff is not what I'm speaking to. Again, what I'm speaking to is building friendships, new friendships, building new business relationships, and not being super critical, not being overly critical in the development phase of that. There's so much noise and so much stuff that will arise that will try to keep you from developing healthy, thriving friendships. And this is one of those things. As a type A entrepreneur myself, that this is something that I used to deal with a lot more. The more I realized that, I'm forgiven and I need grace, and people have given it to me. When I look back, this is why I brought up what I was trying to speak to earlier. When I look back, 5, 6, 7 years ago even, the amount of grace that people showed to me when I didn't know they were showing it to me is humbling, to say the least. Humbling. So, trust me, the older you get, and I'm a young buck, I'm not an ignoramus. I understand I'm young, but I have lived. I'm 28, and I've seen a lot of things so far. And one of the things that I've seen happen in my life is a deeper understanding about life as it regards to how people interact, and how older people are typically a lot more patient than younger people, and how we need to think longer term. We think so short term. We think, I'm only going to know these people for a year, for 3 years, 4 or 5 years. How about we think about that? We can have an eternal impact on people. We can have a lasting impact. Everyone we meet, always. We will have an eternal impact on them. Our interactions with them will have a lasting ripple effect. Every single person has a circle of influence of at least 5 people. Those 5 people also have a circle of influence of at least 5 people. And then your influence upon that person is already exponentially expanded past 500, 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, million people in less than a year's time, I'd almost bet to say. So if you're someone also who's putting in work at a job where, it's interesting, when I was doing work that I didn't like, this was a couple years ago, I guess, I didn't particularly hate it, but I didn't love it. It gave me a new sense of motivation, actually, to realize that my interactions with folks was making a difference. Whether or not I completed what I was there to complete, I could still make a good positive impact on others and therefore the world. So that's it for this episode. Last 2 Fridays in a row, I haven't published an Advice That Changed My Life episode. A lot of things have been going on in my personal life. I've needed time I was getting a little bit on that burnout fringe. To be honest with you, I was getting a little bit on that burnout fringe. I needed to take a step back, and it was very helpful for me to take those couple weeks off. And again, I've never guaranteed a Friday publishing schedule. I need everyone who listens and enjoys it to please go ahead and leave a review. It really means a lot, as I put in my own money, my own time and efforts into producing the show. It's just a genuine ask. I rarely do it like this, but it's definitely well overdue. And for those of you who have supported the show, do support the show, even just so much as listening. It means a lot. And I really am grateful for you. You know who you are, all of you guys. Almost every single person who's listened to this show has shown so much support, and I appreciate it. I hope it has supported you in some capacity as well. And hey, let's crush it this weekend. Take care of what needs to get taken care of. Don't forget, those little undones add up and can really drain your mental bandwidth. So if you have a list of things that aren't really all that important, but they're kind of there and you need to get them done, write out that list on Saturday, bang them out, whether it's 5, 10 things. And Sunday, you're going to be feeling amazing. I can almost guarantee that. So hey, really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe, review, share it with a friend. Have an awesome weekend. As always, live wide open and Godspeed. Fearless.